Hello, and welcome to this latest PV Tech TechTalk series webinar. This is Mark Osborne, Senior News Editor at PV Tech, and I'll be moderating this hour-long tech talk that will also include a 15-minute Q&A session. Partnering with us today is Huawei, which has launched its next-generation FusionSolar residential PV solution. Now, this is intended to meet the rapidly evolving needs of the residential PV market, while future-proofing the ability for customers to meet and retain the high self-consumption capabilities. And this is also using Huawei's Luna 2000 intelligent battery storage system. This is a technically detailed run-through of the new system's capabilities and the benefits. And our guest speaker today will be Xia Bin, who is in charge of Huawei's residential and commercial and industrial smart PV solutions launch globally. Before we start, just a quick reminder to feel free to post questions throughout this webinar for the Q&A session at the end. And we'll also have Huawei staff to help answer any questions you may have. Well, that's it from me until the Q&A, and I'll hand over to Mr. Bin to start his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for introducing. Hello, everyone. My name is Bing. I'm from Huawei Marketing Department. And in the following 45 minutes, I will just introducing you the Huawei company and our residential smart PV solution. And so let's jump into the first section. So Huawei is, very sustainable and bankable company with large business scale. We are operating in over 170 countries. And the total employee is over 194,000, and among them 50% are on the employees. So we're actually a very on the focused company. We have in total 14 on the research centers globally, and right now we ranked 49 in the global Fortune 500 and 74 in the enterprise top 100 ranking. And from the financial perspective, we are also growing steadily. If you look at the newest figures we had here on 2020 H1, we actually increased by 13.1% when compared to the same period in 2019. So all these figures has proved that Huawei is a very sustainable company. And I think this is very important for our installer friends to choose a inverter vendor and a solution provider. As for the smart PV business, Huawei actually has shipped over 107 gigawatts, 130 gigawatts, sorry, in total for the last 5 years. And also because of Huawei's insist on string inverter solutions, nowadays we can see the share for string inverter is becoming the mainstream. Before in the utility scale, most of the solution is central inverter, those very big inverters. But after Huawei's getting into the industry, we are pushing these string inverters. And as when we come to today, we can see the share for string inverters almost over 32%. And then we expect that this share will getting even higher in the future. So this is the overall solutions Huawei is providing to the solar industry. For the residential solution, which is our focus today, we will provide in 2 to 6 and 3 to 10 KTL inverters, single phase and three phase, and our second generation optimizer, which I will introduce in detail, and as well as our first launched energy storage systems. For the CNI scenario, we will providing 12 to 100 kilowatt entire inverter portfolio. The optimizer will also be a product here in the CNI solutions. It's the same optimizer as we provide in the residential solution. And for the utility scale, we're providing 2 important models. One is 185 kilowatt, which is a high voltage output at AC. Another model is 100 kilowatt. So right, so let's jump to the next part, which is very important, the residential smart PV solution. So this is the big picture of Huawei's newest residential smart PV solution. From the top part of the slide, we can see here, Huawei will provide a full optimizer solution. With full optimizers, we can achieve 4 important features. The first feature is to achieve module level MPP tracking. So we can, to overcome shading problems, to increase energy yields for every house. The second feature is a safety feature, which is to shut down each module's PV output, the voltage output, to 0 volt. So can ensure the absolute safety to protect our installers, as well as, in some emergency cases, the firefighters. The third feature is module level monitoring. So we can monitor the performance of each module independently, the energy yields, the problems related to each modules. So all these problems can be located at module level. The fourth feature is design flexibility, which is a long string design. So the design of the PV modules will be flexible than those conventional string solutions. But the full optimizer solution is not the only solution that works with Huawei's Smart Edge Center. Actually, this Smart Edge Center has built-in 2 MPP trackers, so it can also work independently without optimizers, especially for those very neat and tidy rooftops. And for the energy storage system here, as a new product will be provided in the Q4 this year. It's a modular designed energy storage systems, which I will introduce in detail later on. For the communication, we provide 3 different types of options for the installers. The first one is WLAN. If this device is located nearby the Wi-Fi router, then the WLAN will be a good option. But if it's a bad signal because the inverter is installed on the 3rd floor and say Wi-Fi router is located on the 1st floor, then there will be some, the signal is very weak. In this case, we provide Ethernet or 4G. The 4G needs a separate SIM card to be inserted. Another part, a small piece of equipment we provide is smart power sensor. It is mainly used to monitor the import and export of power, from the grid. With this smart power sensor, we can monitor this information in our FusionSolar app. So for each of these components, I will just talk in detail in my following several slides. So firstly, the smart PV inverters. On my left-hand side is Huawei's newest residential single-phase inverters. We have 6 models here in total, ranging from 2 to 6 kTL. So this inverter has in total 2 MPP trackers and 2 inputs. So 1 input per MPP trackers. So as you can see here on the bottom of the inverter, for the first pair of connectors is PV1, the second pair is PV2. So what's for the third pair? Actually, it's the battery connectors. So this pair of connectors is used to expand with Huawei's newest energy storage systems. Okay. So for the communication part, here we can see a WLAN antenna. This antenna is used for local commissioning. And in case the customer wants to use other types of communication, that needs to be purchased separately, whether it's WLAN FE dongle or 4G dongle. AFCI function is an ARC circuit interrupter. It's a safety feature that dealing with DC arkings. We know that in residential or CNI scenarios, if there is some bad connections between the PV module connectors, they may occur DC arcing, and that's one of the main reason causing some fire hazard. So with AFCI function as standard, we can overcome the risk of DC arcing by shutting down this inverter very quickly in 0.5 seconds, so instantly shut down, and it's very safe for the homeowner. This feature is one of the important feature that Huawei is pushing in the market. So finally, the optimizer compatibility. It's workable with Huawei's newest 450 watt, the 2nd generation smart PV optimizer, which I will talk in detail on my next slide. On my right-hand side is the 3-phase residential inverters from 3 kTL to 10 kTL, M1. Previously, we are offering the M0 model in market. Difference between M0 and M1 is the M1 will support optimizers and will also support nighttime monitoring. So if you have loads, your home loads running at nighttime with M1, we can also monitor and to reflect in the app. For the MPP trackers and inputs, it's the same as a single-phase inverter, 2 MPP trackers and 2 inputs. Local commissioning will be the built-in WLAN FE dongle. So here, it's different from the single-phase, which is an antenna as standard. But here, we're providing a WLAN FE dongle as standard. The WLAN FE dongle as standard. It's a 2-in-1 dongle. Okay, but in case the customer wants to have independent monitoring, doesn't want to rely on the Wi-Fi router, then they can choose 4G, but needs to provide a SIM card separately. FCI is also a standard feature in our residential inverters on the 3-phase one, and because the 3-phase inverter has a even higher DC voltage, which is almost 800 to 1000 operating voltage. So in this case, the PID becomes a problem. PID effects, which is a potential induced degradation, which is kind of module problem that will affect the output performance. Say if the new module, the output is 360 watt or 400 watt, and because of PID problem, the output power will be reduced to 90%. The main reason causing PID is the one I mentioned is the high voltage difference. Like this one, it's a 1000 voltage DC system. Another reason is the humidity and the high temperature. All these 3 factors will cause PID effects. But Huawei providing this PID recovery module as standard to resolve that problem. We will inject a reversed voltage from the inverter to this string to repair the modules to get back to the normal output. So that's the PID recovery function. It's a standard feature. Ripple control interface. It is used to connect with the ripple control receiver. So our inverter can to comply some grid scheduling orders. Finally, it also is compatible with Huawei's newest 2nd generation optimizer. The next equipment I want to introducing is Huawei's newest string ESS. String ESS. Why we call it string ESS? That's because in the PV string in the market we have the PV optimizers to optimize the performance of each module. Similarly, here in the Huawei string ESS, we have also energy optimizer in each of these battery modules to optimize the charging and discharging of this module independently, battery module independently. So they will not affect each other. And if you want to expand with a new battery system, pre-charging is not needed. Because conventionally, if you're using a modular design battery solution, you need to pre-charge the module before you install into the system here. So each module is equivalent to 5 kilowatt hours. So the homeowner can expand flexibly based on their demand to up to 3 modules per system. So in total, 15 kilowatt hours. Now, Huawei's Smart ESS is compatible with Huawei's both single-phase and the 3-phase inverters. As we know, the DC voltage for single-phase and the 3-phase is different. For the single-phase inverter system, the DC operating voltage is normally at 360 volt. It's a range between 300 to maybe 500. But for the 3-phase, the DC voltage will be even higher, between 800 volt to 1000 volt. So with Huawei's power module, we can adjust this high voltage and convert into 48 volt and charge into the battery module. So it's a power module, the function. It will adjust to different systems automatically. In case the homeowner wants to use a larger battery system to provide more power at night, our system also supports parallel operation. So with one set, Luna 2000, it's 15 kilowatt hours. Now we can get 30. And this one, as I have already mentioned, it's compatible with both Huawei single and three-phase inverters. For the installation, the default installation part we provide will be the floor stand. It will be shipped in together with the power module. I want to add one more thing before I go to the next point, which is the delivery of the product will not be, the entire product in one big box, but instead, the power module will have one box, one single box. The installation part will be coming in together with the power module's box. With other 3 battery module, it will shipped in 3 separate boxes. So for this one set of product, the installer may receive 4 different boxes with 1 power module box and 3 battery module box. The chemical, content for this battery is lithium iron phosphate. It's a very stable, cell when compared to NCM. The discharge, the depth of discharge is 100%. So the users can use the full potential of each battery module. If there is 15 kilowatt hours, now we can have 15 kilowatt hours, discharged to supply to those loads. And for the combination, because this is modular design, so it's very flexible. The smallest system will be a 5 kilowatt hours capacity, but with 2.5 kilowatt charging discharging. And we can expand the capacity to 10 or 15 kilowatt hours with charging discharging power to 5 kilowatt. And we can get it even larger, from 20 kilowatt hours to 30 kilowatt hours with the charging discharging power at 10 kilowatt. So that's some basic information with Huawei's ESS. Another product we are introducing to the market is the second generation Huawei Smart PV Optimizer, the 450 watt. Now, if you remember, the first generation it's a 370 watt, but now we get larger to 450 watt to make it suitable to those these bigger and bigger PV modules in the market. But the size of the optimizer is getting smaller. It's actually getting 50% smaller when you compare to Huawei's first generation optimizer. So installers can hold in their hand very comfortably. The communication between the optimizer and Huawei's smart PV inverter is DC M bus. In another way is the power line communication. The 3 features I have also introduced in my the big picture, the overview page, to achieving module level MPP tracking, module level monitoring, and the module level voltage shutdown. But here, the open circuit impedance is used for the installation inspection, because before we're connecting the string to the inverter, we need to make sure the optimizer is connected correctly in the string. So how can we inspect or check the optimizer is installed correctly? The indicator we can rely on is open circuit independence. For each optimizer we connected in a string, you will have 1000 ohms. So if you have 10 optimizers in that string, you'll get 10,000 ohms. So installer can inspect before they connecting this string to the inverter. So next product is the smart power sensor. We will provide 2 types of smart power sensor. On my left-hand side here is a single phase smart power sensor with CTs, and on my right-hand side is a 3-phase smart power sensor with 3 CTs together. This is the entire product coming in one box. So the CTs will not come in another box. It's in one box. 3 key functions related to the smart power sensor. The first one is to monitor the import and export of power. So in the monitoring system, we can use our app, to check how much power is being exported, how much power is being purchased, and with this information, we can also calculate the self PV power consumption rate and the self energy sufficiency rate. The second feature will be to achieving zero export. So it will work in together with the inverter to achieving zero export. The third feature is to work in together with the battery to achieve different energy storage system working mode. For instance, to achieve the maximum consumption to use as much power as much PV power as possible. So I will go into detail on those different energy storage system working mode on my later part. Next one is the communication modules. The first one is the smart dongle WLAN FE. It's a 2-in-1 smart dongle. One is the WLAN communication, which is used to connecting the dongle to the home Wi-Fi router. Another is fast Ethernet. This is also provided in case the signal is not good for WLAN. So we can use the conventional cables to connecting the inverter to the home router. Another point is the maximum inverters that can be connected with one smart dongle is 10. So in case you have say a house with 2 inverters, you just need one dongle. It's plug and play, so it's easy to install. The another option is smart dongle 4G. Similarly, it can support up to 10 inverters, and it's also plug and play. Another thing I want to mention is emphasize the SIM card. It's not provided inside the smart dongle as default. It needs to be added on later by the integrators or Huawei's distributors. For the software part, Huawei is providing a platform called FusionSolar. It has two formats. The first one is the app version. Another is the web portal version, which is a smart PV management system. It's a web UI based. For the FusionSolar app, it is mainly used for local system commissioning and also for the remote plant registration. So we can do, I would say, 100% work on site without going back to the office and to do the system registration, because with this app, the installer can do all the work on site. And there are also some other good features. I will talk them in detail later on. For the monitoring portal, it's web UI based. We have a unified address, which is intl.fusionsolar.huawei.com. It is used for real-time monitoring of all the PV plants, and for installers, it will show a list of PV plants being installed. We're also providing some O&M tools like module level monitoring, like the IV curve diagnosis, which is one type of module health diagnosis. We're also providing demo site for all guests who want to experience our system before purchasing. And if the installer doesn't want to share the data to Huawei because of some data security consideration, they don't want to share to any third parties, then they can use the Huawei Sun to Sun app. This app is only used for local commissioning, and if the installer want to also monitor this data in their own monitoring system, Huawei will also open our API. So all this information will be transferred to the installer's own monitoring system. So with all these components being introduced, now we can making up two types of system. The first type of system is a single phase inverter system. As we can see here, it's a full optimizer solutions here, mainly to coping with those of shadings on rooftop, or if the rooftop has some small east or west oriented rooftops, optimizer is also a very optimal solution. But however, if the rooftop is very clean and tidy, then the inverter can also work without these optimizers, which I also mentioned in my previous slide. The battery system here is a DC coupled battery solution. So the charging efficiency of this energy storage system is very high because the PV power will go directly into the DC-DC inside the inverter, then to the battery. It will not go through the DC-AC module inside the inverter. So it's a DC coupled battery system with high charging efficiency. It's a modular solution. So it's very flexible to add or reduce the battery module. The communication for the entire system, whether it's nearby or the remote, is all FusionSolar. It's app version or web portal version. One thing I want to emphasize is the backup box. It's an optional, equipment that can be installed in the system to providing emergency power supply for those critical loads. For the single phase inverter, say 5 kilowatt, it will have 5 kilowatt critical single phase power to provide into those backup loads. The switch over time for the backup power, once the grid power is down, is 3 seconds. It's an automatic switch over. The smart power sensor is a single phase power sensor. It's connected with Huawei's inverter using RS-485 cables. Similarly, for the batteries connection with inverter, it's RS-485 cables. Another type of system is a three-phase inverter system. Similarly, the optimizer can be a full optimizer or without optimizer. It's very flexible, and same battery model for the three-phase inverter. So you only need to stock one type of Huawei battery system. Similar app and monitoring system. The different things is the backup box. There is a single-phase model and the three-phase model. The single-phase model the name is called M0. Sorry, it's B0. But for the three-phase backup box, it's called B1. One thing I want to emphasize is the power we get here in the three-phase backup box is still single-phase. The inverter, say, is a 10 kilowatt three-phase inverter, but we can only connect in one phase to the backup box. So 10 kilowatt for the three-phase, so one phase only with 3.3 kilowatt. So it's single phase power here. Well, this needs to be pay attention to. The smart power sensor is a three-phase model, so it's larger when compared to single phase smart power sensor. It can achieve the same features, monitoring export import, and to achieving zero export and battery some interaction. For the design of the PV modules with Huawei Smart PV Optimizer, now we can actually get a very flexible design. We don't need to obey the conventional string design rules, to put modules all in one direction, if it's connected in one string, and normally 2 MPP trackers, so you can only use the 2 face of the rooftops. But with Huawei's optimizer solution, it's very flexible. You can put modules actually everywhere and connecting them in series, connecting them with 1 PV cables and down to the inverter. And the length of the PV module is longer when compared to the conventional string inverter. So here, for the single phase inverter 2 to 6 KTL platform, for each of the string, it can connect 5 kilowatt. So with 2 strings, actually, it can connect 10 kilowatt PV modules. So if we are using a 5 kilowatt inverter, then the DC-AC ratio will be over 200%. Similarly, for the 3 to 10 KTL inverter, for each of the string, it can connect 10 kilowatt. So 2 strings with 20 kilowatt, also very high DC-AC ratio. And if you are using like 400 watt modules, then the length of the string will be longer when you compare to those conventional string inverters. This can also help to reduce the cable and some BOS cost. So for the backup box, I want to to discuss in detail. Firstly, the battery here, because it's working, it's one of the power source for the backup box. Here, except for the Huawei Luna 2000, for the single phase system, we also support the LG Chem 7H and 10H Type R model. These 2 types of battery system is workable with Huawei single phase inverters. So when the power of the grid is on, whether it's critical loads or non-critical loads, they are all running normally. But if the power is down, the grid is down, then the auto switch here will be disconnected. So the normal critical loads will got no power. But this switch, manual switch here, is connected. So the power from the PV module or the battery will be provided continuously to the critical loads. However, there's still 3 second switch over time, so you need to wait 3 seconds to get the emergency power. For the 3-phase, the backup power, emergency power supply, the battery model is only Huawei's Luna 2000. LG does not work here. when the grid is on, both the critical loads and non-critical loads working normally. But if the grid power is down, similarly, the power here, the switch here, auto switch here will disconnected, and the manual switch here will be connected. So you will get critical loads power for these loads, and both PV and battery will provide power. The priority is the PV first, the battery power second. So after we have installed all this hardware, let's get into the software part. See how we can do the system commissioning. So this is Huawei's newest FusionSolar app, the interface, the main interface. So once we click the quick setting, we will go into a 5-step inverter commissioning steps. The first step is grid code setting. Different countries will have different grid codes, and if we are turning on the GPS function of your smartphone, then it will automatically pop up the correct grid code. But if the GPS is disabled, then the installer can choose from the list to choose the grid code. Then click next. Next step is device detection. Because the residential system nowadays have a lot of components inside, like the smart dongles, batteries, power meters, optimizers, so many components. But with Huawei's device detection, all these components can be detected automatically. Once it's detected, they will show a green icon here. But if it's gray, why it's gray? Because optimizer normally will take a long time to search. But here, we don't need to wait until it gets into green, because our optimizer search can done at the background. That is also one design, when we do the product, make the product. So we don't need to wait until the green. We can just click next, and the optimizer is still searching at the background. It will not waste your time to waiting here. Next step is very important, is control mode settings. Huawei has 3 main control mode, because it's an energy storage system. It can work in different ways. So which one the user want can be chosen here, which I will expand in my following slides. Communication settings. This page is shown automatically. It does not need to, to set, complicated, because once you have installed 4G dongle, then this page will be pop up as 4G diagram. And if you are installing a WLAN FE dongle, then this page will show as a WLAN FE connection diagram. All these things will be done automatically. The rest, the only work we need to do is to click next. Finally, when we've done the previous 4 steps, we are doing the work. The inverter is being activated and start operating. So that's the overview of the quick commissioning. So let's jump into some of the highlights during this process. The first one is the auto detection of all system devices. As I mentioned, because now this residential solution is very complicated with a lot of different components. And because Huawei is providing the one-fits-all solution, we're providing the inverter, battery, optimizer, meter, dongle, all in Huawei brands. So with Huawei app, we can configure all these components very easily and quickly in 1.5 to 3 minutes. But conventionally, in the residential market, the system, different system is provided from different companies. Say inverter is from company 1, battery is from company 2, maybe optimizer is from company 3. So it may involve different apps, to do the component commissioning. So you may involve 3 different apps in this kind of commissioning process. It will take even longer, take a very long time for installers to complete the job, normally 15 to 20 minutes. So here we can saving a lot of time for our installer friends. And for another important feature, which is the physical layout creation of PV modules, we know that conventionally the physical layout creation of PV optimizer needs to be done manually with hand, in the monitoring system. You need to relate the serial number of each optimizer to the icon in the monitoring system one by one, using your hand and using your eyes. It takes a long time. For a 15 kilowatt system with 40 PV modules, it may take over 6 minutes. But Huawei, we are doing it with AI technologies. All we need to do is to take a picture of the 2D barcode template which reflects this 2D barcode template will reflect the actual physical layout of your optimizer location. So we can take a picture of this paper template. Then with AI image recognition technology, we can convert that into the physical layout monitoring in your app just within 5 seconds. So it's very quickly. So in total, we can done all the process in less than 1 minute. But for conventional solutions with manual physical layout creation, it takes longer. And if the system is larger than 15 kilowatt, then the time gap will be even larger. Here we can also saving a lot of time for installer friends. So this is a patent technology from Huawei. So for the working mode that I mentioned in the 5-step quick commissioning, so there are 3 types of control mode. The first control mode is maximum self-consumption. The purpose for maximum self-consumption is to using PV energy as much as possible, because in some countries, feeding to the grid doesn't make a lot of money because the feeding tariff is very low, so it doesn't make any sense. So the purpose for maximum self-consumption is to use as much power from solar as possible. Next working mode is fully fed to the grid. This is suitable if the feed-in tariff in a specific country is very good. So you can sell the power to the grid to make money. Or if the country is using some net metering policies. So for every kilowatt hours you feed into the grid, you can get it back for free, like Netherlands. Time of use. This is a kind of energy control mode for some specific scenarios, like when the homeowner is encountering some extreme weather in the coming days. So they can use time of use mode to set the charging and discharging of battery system. So let's get into each of this mode in detail. First one is maximization of self-consumption. So here it's a curve. You can see here on the bottom, it's a load curve. So all your load consumption. You can see 3 peaks here in the morning, at noon, or at night. So green curve here is a PV power curve. So it reflects your PV power generation. So in the daytime, firstly, the PV power will providing power to the home loads. So all these loads consumption will be met fully by the PV power. Excess PV power will be charged into the battery to charge your ESS system to 100%. Once the battery is fully charged, and if we have still excess power, then this power can be fed to the grid to make some extra money. At night, when the PV power is getting down, the battery system will get involved to start to discharge power to providing power to these loads at night. And if the power from the battery is fully discharged, then finally the grid power will be switched in as the third priority. So here, for any home loads want to consume power, the first priority is PV module. Second priority is the battery system. The third priority is the grid. The second control mode is the time of use. So in this control mode, the users can set specific date and time range to charge the battery or to discharge the battery. There are several application scenarios. The first one I can think of is the to cope with the extreme weather in the coming days. So we can charge the battery at the previous night. So because the second day we don't have good sunlight, so PV will not charge the battery. So we can use this mode to charge the battery at the previous night and discharge power in the daytime. Another scenario I can think of is to charge the battery at an off-peak rate power, and to use in the daytime, for those peak power rate, so you can save money. So this is another application scenario. So this is one example that I would say extreme weathers. So there will be no PV power here. So in the daytime, all these loads the power is from the ESS. So battery is providing power. So because we are providing a lot of power in the daytime, the battery is running out. So in midnight, the grid will switch in to provide power to the load. And then meanwhile, the grid will also charge the battery, at off-peak rate, those cheap electricity. So this is time of use and how we can apply in what kind of scenarios. Another working mode is fully feeding. In this mode, as I mentioned, it's used for areas with a good feeding tariff or with net metering. So firstly, your PV power we're providing, to those home loads in the daytime. When there is some excess power, it will be fed into the grid. So this purple area, it will fed into grid. For this gray area, because say if we are using a long string design, we have 150 DC-AC ratio, and this kind of peak power will not be cut, will not be wasted, because we have energy storage system, so we can charge this excess power firstly into ESS, and then we under the fully feeding tariff, fully feeding mode, it will firstly to provide to the load, and then excess power will be provided to the grid. To make as much power as possible, or to use in the metering mode. So this is fully feeding mode. The fourth mode I didn't mention in the beginning, but it's actually another mode, is the off-grid operating mode. So without the grid, without the AC grid, there are two sources of power for the loads. The first one is PV modules. In the daytime, it will providing power to the home loads. Excess power will be stored in the battery system and discharged at nighttime. So the second source will be the battery. And if in the second day there is still no, if in the second day there are still no grid, this kind of loop can still continue. The PV power generating power charges the battery, and at nighttime battery discharge to the load. So you can survive even without load for several days. So how we can do the O&M? Another great feature is the pinpoint arc fault positioning. We know that for the conventional problems, because some of the arcing fault hide below the modules, we do not know where it locates specifically. But with Huawei Smart PV optimizers, we can now achieve module level fault location. So it can save a lot of time for installers to get rid of, they don't need to go on site and to do the string inspection. It will take a very long time. But now they can locate the problem accurately and to do replacement quickly. And when they are on site, because the inverter is shut down automatically, and because of arcing protection, the modules on top here, when installed with optimizers, will reduce to 0 volt. So it's very safe to do the maintenance works. Another feature I want to mention is the reliability. Actually, it's actually not a feature, but the product design philosophy is we want to make this product as reliable, as robust as possible. So we have get rid of a lot of wearable parts like fuse and LCD screens and buttons. Also, we are using natural coolings. We also invited some third-party organizations to do on-site inspection, and the failure rate given by TUV is less than 0.5%. So it's very high quality product. Finally, let me do a brief summary. Huawei, as I mentioned at the beginning, is providing a one-fits-all solution. We're providing this one model optimizer, which is a 450 watt, to fit almost all PV modules, whether it's poly or mono modules in the market. We're providing one model of ESS system to work with, whether it's single phase or three phase inverters. And the backup box can be expanded later on, so the installer can make the system into emergency power supply system. Because of all these components is provided by Huawei, we can manage the commissioning and the registration with only one app. And we are now also providing unified service window for pre-sales technical training and after-sales service support. Thank you, everyone, for your time. I will just hand to Mark.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bin, for that really in-depth overview of the next generation Fusion solar system. Looking here, we've actually got a lot of questions. So, but before we get into that, I just want to mention that we've got to the attendees here that we've got Huawei staff, and even though the Q&A will finish, the webinar technically will close. We will have the platform open so that people still have questions that need answering, or you've got questions that you want answers to. The platform will remain open for a short time afterwards. So again, I hope Mr. Bing is ready, because we've got some really good questions here that to go through.
Sure.
Right. Great. So I guess a common theme, looking through the questions here, a common theme has been, and I'll start with this, is on the energy storage side. A lot of attendees have been asking about the compatibility of the FusionSolar system with other energy storage options. Obviously, background there is availability of energy storage. You know, people have had to mix and match. So perhaps you could go over some of that, you know, some of those elements that you mentioned in your presentation, because people are maybe not quite understanding about how whether this is compatible, you know, with other products.
Okay.
And are there sort of positives and negatives to that?
All right, no problem. Actually, you know, in the first generation Huawei residential solution, we're offering Huawei inverters with LG CAM high voltage battery systems, and that's the first generation solution we offer to the market. So, but during the the operation of this kind of system combination of systems, we found a lot of compatibility problems. Because, you know, during the design of these two products, it's actually from two totally different companies. For LG Chem, you know, they are thinking about to make sure their battery is workable with so many different inverter brands. So it's not perfectly matched to Huawei's inverters. And so we were thinking about providing our own energy storage solutions. That's the reason this year, for the second generation residential solution, we're offering the Huawei's Luna 2000 energy storage system. The benefits of this system is from Huawei. So the compatibility of the inverter and the energy storage system, you know, is perfect. You know, the concept between it is that we don't want our installer friends to do very complicated commissioning with these two different components. All they need to do is to plug in the battery and it's done. You know, the inverter will automatically recognize the energy storage system. They don't need to do very complicated settings, so it only take like minutes to do all the setting. And so we're also providing this energy storage system to fit all Huawei residential inverters, whether it's a single phase inverter or three phase inverter. They use the same energy storage system of Huawei Luna 2000. Our Luna 2000 energy storage system can adapt its voltage to fit single phase inverter and three phase inverter. It's a high voltage energy storage system. And also there are a lot of benefits on the service side because it's from one company. So if there is any problem within the residential system, before, you know, if there is a system having some problems, people may not know where the problem, you know, lies. Is it from the inverter side or from the energy storage side? So it takes a long time to find the problem. But right now, all the system components is from Huawei. So all you need to do is to call in Huawei service hotlines. So that's also benefits to our customers. Mark.
Okay, that's thank you. I think following on from what you've just said here, another aspect, again based on the energy storage side, is the issue of like availability, because obviously you're highlighting some key benefits of keeping using Huawei's energy storage solution specifically, to maximize all of the benefits that this offers. But I guess something you didn't sort of cover in the presentation due to the time restraints, but energy storage system availability. How are you matching supply to the demand?
Well, it's a very good question, and because for different family, the energy consumption is different, and for a solar system, and it will also generate I would say a certain amount of energy power daily. So how to achieving like 100% self 100% like a PV self consumption, and or 100% self energy sufficiency. That's the question normally asked. For Huawei's solution, if without energy storage system, normally the PV self consumption rate will be like 30%. That's the figure I think agreed by the industry, 30% to 40%. But with energy storage system adding to the system, the PV energy self consumption rate may raise up to 70 to 80%. That's the normal figure after adding energy storage system. But if the homeowner's self-consumption is relatively small compared to the energy generation, then it's possible to achieve 100% PV self-consumption, even 100% self energy sufficiency.
Okay, understood. And I think, as you know, I mean, there's issues around, everybody driving, or certainly in Europe, you see more emphasis on trying to maximize self-consumption. And I see what you're saying about using your system gives you much more chance of getting either to the 100% or very close to it, which is obviously is of interest to a lot of European customers and installers, is to maximize that self-consumption. That's what's driving a lot of demand. But I think there's some other questions that related to this that I've seen here. And if I look, one of these would be on the other side is price charging, compared to day and night. Does the system support reverse charging?
Yes. Yeah, our inverter system together with energy storage system supports reverse charging. Users can use the FusionSolar app to set a specific period of time during a day or night to charge reversely from the grid to the energy storage system. The reason for this kind of control mode is because in real life we may encounter like extreme weathers, so there will be no sunlight in the daytime, which means no PV energy in the daytime. So how we can cope with the high high price, very expensive utility price in the daytime? One solution is using this kind of reverse charging at midnight, using those very cheap power to charge your battery to 100% and to discharge this power in the daytime. So you can still use very cheap power in the daytime to save money.
Okay, yeah, good. I think that's answered those particular questions. Moving on to the power optimizer side, because obviously we're talking here a lot of new components and capabilities. I think that's the other important thing. It is capabilities here. So bringing together some of these questions, let me paraphrase that into a question. Is the power optimizers actually optional? And in the sense, that they're not absolutely required. I think you did refer to some of that in your presentation, but also they're saying, being optional because people would rather run with, say, string inverters instead. I think there's a perceived cost relation issue, or maybe just even just from their experience using string inverters over and above power optimizers or micro inverters. So what can you do there?
So for Huawei's, second generation residential solution, actually we want to make it very flexible during the different scenarios, application. And for those very simple and neat flat rooftops, normally we will recommend just the inverter itself will be enough, because the inverter got 2 MPP trackers inside. It can work perfectly itself without optimizers. So answering your question, is absolutely can work independently without optimizers. In another scenario is the customer wants some high safety. So in this kind of scenario, we have the full optimizer solution with each panel installing one Huawei Sun 2000 optimizers, so can helping the end users to achieving higher safety with zero voltage shutdown, arcing fault protection, etc. But also there are some installers telling us that because some customer they want to install they've got shadings on their rooftop. For instance, some small rooftop facing east or facing west, they want to also to install panels. But because the conventional string inverter cannot, having 2 different directions in one string, so it's not workable with the conventional string inverter. But with Huawei's, this second generation residential solution, actually we support optional optimizer application, which means you just need to install several optimizers on those, small rooftops, 3 or 4 panels facing east or facing west. But with the majority of the PV modules in the string facing south without optimizers. So this kind of flexible application is also workable with this second generation Huawei solution. So we want to deliver the maximized flexibility to our installer friends to meet different customers' requests. Mark?
Yeah, no, good. And you mentioned the east-west orientation, and that's a very common, unfortunately, a common layout for houses rather than south-facing. There's it's very much an east-west orientation for many, especially in major cities and major towns. Certainly across many countries in Europe. And I guess another aspect here that's come up a lot, looking at the number of questions we've had on this. This was another thing that you didn't cover in the presentation, and we knew, again, time limitations, but we've got the Q&A, and this is a good time. Could you detail discuss the warranty levels, especially when we've got all these different components coming together? How can you explain one by one with the key components what the warranties are on offer?
Sure, Mark. Because in this residential solution, we've got so many different components. So for the inverter itself, for the residential inverter, we're offering a standard 10 years factory warranty. And for the optimizers, we also have the 25 years factory warranty. And for the energy storage system, the Luna 2000, we're offering 10 years standard warranty. It's the same as the inverter. And for all other accessories like the smart dongles, the power sensors, we're offering 1 year's factory warranty. That's the some warranty information that you may need to familiar with.
Okay, good. And looking at the time, maybe we've got a chance to cover just one more question where there's been, you know, a fair number of similar questions on this. Again, there's I'll put this together. So you've got people are asking about the FusionSolar system availability, let's just say in Europe, and also what training programs are available. Can,
so for no problem. So firstly, your question is availability, right?
Yeah, availability first, and also the availability of training. Yeah, the structuring in the training courses.
Okay, so for the availability of the solution, let's just say each component is differently. It's a little bit different for the inverter and the optimizer. Actually, it's already available. We've got a single phase inverter, Sun 2000, 226 kTL L1. So that's the single phase inverter models. It's already available in the market. Just put orders to Huawei's official distributors in the market, so you can have access to them immediately. And also the second generation smart PV optimizer, the very smaller one, second generation, it's also available in the market. And for the energy storage system, the Luna 2000, it's a new product we're launching to the market this year. So we will just ship to Europe probably in the November. So you can just wait and just for less than 1 month. So you have this product as well. And for all other accessories, it's not a problem. It's already available in the market. So that's the availability of the FusionSolar solution. And for the training program, actually Huawei is always providing so many different types of training opportunities in European region. We've got the road shows already, having all different countries, partners, join Huawei together. We are providing so many different, this kind of roadshow opportunities. We're having a van, going to different cities. We are inviting installer friends to join with us. And also, we are offering a lot of online training programs in Huawei Smart PV community. You can just launch. You can just log into Huawei's solar.huawei.com, just go into the Huawei Smart PV community, and you can see a lot of different training programs. Just register, and you can enjoy the different programs there. And also, we will have a lot of different, exhibitions in Europe, the big ones and smaller ones. And it's also, chance to talk with Huawei staff and our distributors. So there are, of course, different, opportunities. We're also offering a lot of chance, for you to visit Huawei's offices in Europe. So we will just publish all this information on our website. Just come and check. Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the time, well, everybody, thank you, Mr. Bin, for a great presentation and answering a lot of questions here. And thank you to everybody that's attended. That's now officially the end of the webinar. But again, the platform will remain open. So thank you very much, and hope to see you soon at our next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.